the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The clerk would please take the roll.
Councilmember Archibald?
Here.
Councilmember Ashford?
Present.
Councilmember Haremza?
Here.
Councilmember Lamb?
Here.
Councilmember Mojrak?
Here.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Here.
Mayor Rep.
Here. You have the minutes from the regular meeting of May 22nd. Is there a motion to receive and file?
So moved.
Madam Chair. Councilmember Mojrak, seconded by Councilmember Ashford. Any changes to the minutes? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes will stand as submitted. We do have one presentation tonight. If the clerk would please read it.
Proclamation to recognize the month of June 2023 to be LGBTQIA plus Pride Month will be presented to Laura Hillman, Blue Water Pride.
If you'd like to join me at the podium. Read it, and then you can say a few words if you'd like to. Okay. Whereas the City of Port Huron recognizes and proclaims the month of June 2023 as LGBTQIA plus Pride Month throughout the city, and whereas throughout the state of Michigan, 373,000 individuals represent the LGBTQIA plus community, with 61,000 being made up of our youth. And whereas LGBTQIA plus individuals have had an immeasurable impact on the cultural and civic successes of our communities, and whereas acknowledging Pride Month in the City of Port Huron creates a foundation of promoting equality, visibility, and dignity for LGBTQIA plus individuals in our community and around the world, and whereas the City of Port Huron continues to work toward maintaining an inclusive community in which all citizens past, present, and future are respected and recognized for their contributions to our city, the state, the country, and the world. And whereas during Pride Month, it is important to focus on providing resources, increase awareness, and extend our support to our friends and family, and to be a part of the social movement toward an inclusive future. Now, therefore, I, Pauline M. Rapp, by the authority vested in me as mayor of the City of Port Huron, do hereby proclaim June 2023 to be LGBTQIA plus Pride Month in the City of Port Huron in support of an inclusive community. Thank you.
Thank you.
And if you'd like to say a few words.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd just like to say thank you to the City Council and the City of Port Huron for issuing this proclamation. You have actually the statistics I was going to talk about in the proclamation about how it really affects many Michiganders and especially our youth. And I guess I just want to say a very heartfelt thank you for issuing this proclamation.
Thank you. We now move on to public comment. If there's anyone in the audience who wishes to address the City Council this evening on either anything on the agenda or what we have jurisdiction over, please come forward and give us your name, and you have 4 minutes.
Brian Farquhar, 19th Avenue, the City of Port Huron. I guess we're all tired of me coming up and talking about the trash deal, and that's kind of a done deal as far as, at least for this year. But the citizens are tired of being lied to. At the end of last meeting, I brought up a little bit of a parking issue, and instead of just an apology or we were wrong and we'll park in the wrong place, we made false excuses. And the head of the recreation department unfortunately isn't here, but she came to me and apologized to me in your place, Mr. Freed, instead of you. I didn't know that was you driving that vehicle when I gave the license plate, the truck number, any of the rest of it. That wasn't a personal attack. That wasn't anything whatever. That was just, as city, if we're gonna rent a parking lot, we're gonna go pave it and we're gonna do the rest of it, then let's put our vehicles inside of it and not directly in front of the no parking sign. Okay? So, I mean, that's just it. Like we're tired of it. We're tired of just hearing the excuse of we don't have a better option. So that's what we're gonna go with. We're tired of there not being another option on the board. I think it's the job of the city manager, should have been the job of possibly the mayor at that point, maybe some of you on the city council, to reach out to more departments, more agencies and say, you know what, we have one bid on the board. It's way up here. We don't want to be the New York Yankees and pay, you know, the first $1 billion contract for poor performance. But that's what we're doing. And people have come up here, they've given way better suggestions than me. One of them sitting in the audience tonight about paying for the trash that you actually put out. You know, it's unfortunate that this is what the city has become accustomed to. This is what we've accepted, and as citizens, we're done. It's over. So 2024, those of you that don't hold your seat, don't sit up there comfortable. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to address the council this evening? Please come forward and give us your name, where you live, in 4 minutes.
Julian Ruck, 1423 Lapeer Avenue, Polly's Place. So, tagging on to the talk about trash and different things we could be doing with it. James, remember what we talked about in your office 2 years ago? Do you? Would you like to tell everybody about the solutions I brought to you for compostable waste in this community 2 full years ago? And that you said, it was great, let's do it. Let's move forward on using city properties to manage compostable waste and do community gardening. In fact, you even said at one point, I couldn't stop you if I wanted to. It's a right to farm state. You sure have tried though, haven't you? This council has said that it won't talk to me as a council. I've never been given more than 4 minutes, though I grow and give away thousands of pounds of produce to this community every year, and have been asking for more. You say I don't get more than 4 minutes. In your words, Mayor, it wouldn't be feasible because I'm not credible. That's what you said when you were yelling at me up here after a council meeting. How's that for credible? Do you think any other garden in town can bring this to you right now? All this kale, all this spinach, all this lettuce, how about this garlic? You guys want some free garlic? See, I've mathed out how to grow free food in this community, where over half this community struggles paycheck to paycheck. And I've been banging your door down to move that along, and you guys haven't kept up. We keep growing. We have well over 10,000 followers on various social media platforms. Every time you guys push against us harder, I post about it and the funding comes in for us to push back. And for what? To keep free food from people that need it? Consider how many thousands of pounds haven't been grown in the past 2 years because James Freed couldn't be bothered with it. For a full year, I tried with him until I came to this council and tried for a full year and then some. What kind of people get in the way of free food for others when 1 in 4 are living in poverty in this community? The other reason you've given, obviously I'm plenty credible, the other reason you've given is I'm too volatile. Okay, maybe from a limited perspective I could see that, but I have in my hands here a copy of an arrest record for Joe Bixler. You guys know about this? He's supposedly your other gardener in shining armor, that he's going to show you guys how to do it, and he's the one you want to partner with the Southside Initiative. Do you guys know what this arrest record is for? Assaulting a child while drunk? in a public place. So Southside Initiative gets all the special meetings in the world, all kinds of funding. Their leader assaulted a child, but you won't talk to me because I'm too volatile and I'm not credible. I don't think I'm the one who's not credible here.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the council this evening? Please come forward.
Hi, Bridget Whittaken, 327 Huron Avenue. I'd like to share two of my concerns with you. First, I would like the bathrooms and drinking fountains at the beaches to be functioning and accessible for use. I was running from Fort Gratiot to Port Huron Saturday, 10 a.m. on a Saturday. Both bathrooms at Lakeside Beach and Lighthouse Beach were locked. The drinking fountains at both beaches did not work. We have many citizens who enjoy walking, running, and biking in this area. Public beaches should be a place for them to stop for a drink of water, use the restroom during these summer months. These amenities need to be available for use as early as 7 a.m., not 10, 11, noon, whatever they open. Secondly, I'm extremely concerned about motorized bikes on the sidewalks. Last year, my husband expressed his concern, this issue of concern. The electric bikes have been recently very popular. There are more of them this year than the past, and I'm predicting it's only going to increase. It's like the newest mode of transportation. Port Huron needs to have a policy for these bikes on their sidewalks, and it needs to be enforced. I was walking out of the doorway of my loft, 6:45 p.m., weekday, 2 weeks ago. A small motorized bike, ridden by a woman with a toddler on that bike, hit me as I walked out my door, my arm. My phone fell out of my hand. She didn't even stop. I should not have to look left and right walking out of a building like I'm crossing a road. And that's basically what it's like. Because this person was going about 10 to 15 miles an hour. I walk out that same door many times with my dog on my leash or my granddaughter in a stroller. If either one of those scenarios would have been the case, it would have been devastating. We can't have motorized bikes on sidewalks. It is not safe for our citizens, our pedestrians. If I would have had my granddaughter, I would have lost it. But I did call the police department. I filed a complaint regarding the situation. I spend a lot of time walking on those sidewalks with my dog, my granddaughter. People continue to park on sidewalks. I have to walk in the road with a leash and or stroller because people are parking on the sidewalks regularly. The same people. I think my husband even talked about it last time he was here. We need rules for the motorized bikes on the sidewalks, and the rules must be enforced. I don't want it to be an accident other than just my hand getting hit, which is what happened. Thank you.
Thank you.
Howdy, I'm Moldovin. I live in the Lightship neighborhood, and I want to congratulate the city for recognizing Pride Month this year. That's a great thing. With all the parking discourse and e-bike discourse going on, I saw a good analogy recently. It's about City Hall giving free pizza away downtown. The city looks to increase their capacity to create more free pizza, and then people keep getting mad each time they run out of free, convenient pizza. People have gotten used to this free pizza, and the demand will never stop rising. To further the analogy, what if the town's free pizza is the only source of food, much like many other businesses in town? Port Huron is not unique. In fact, we are just like a lot of other U.S. cities, both big and small, and our only viable way of getting around town is in a car. So of course, there's going to be a pent-up demand for something that is literally our only option. And we can say that, like, oh, you know, people can bike around, they can walk around. but that is neglecting and ignoring the empirical evidence that Port Huron and St. Clair County at large is the most deadly county for people on bikes in southeastern Michigan by more than double the regional average. That's 3%, and we're at 8% in this county. And that's according to SEMCOG. So it's time that I think we need to start embracing complete street design principles, which is in our code because it was adopted at the state level. And we need to start focusing less on response times for public safety, but look at how our streets are actually dangerous by design. I think I've sent you guys information about this before, but I'd be happy to do it again.
Thank you.
Kathleen McCready, 414 14th Street, Mayor, Rep, Council, and City Manager Freed. Regarding the garbage costs or garbage crisis, costs go up. That has been more than obvious the last couple of years, and the user pays. We are the users of the garbage. The city is the entity that makes the arrangements for the user, leaving the user or taxpayer with little choice, if any, on what amount we pay, going forward without a millage. The millage is not necessarily the best choice for the user, and to be fair, under a payer system. Once again, leaving the payer with little choice of what we pay for, at least this payer. My choice would not be for my cost to go up 200% plus. My choice would be to limit bags. My choice would be to remove the leaf pickup that has had issues as recently as fall of 2022. We mulch, we take the bag from the lawnmower, put it in a bag. I am wondering where the fiscal responsibility is on the side of the government. You are the ones that set the rates, set the services, at least in this case. 2018, 2019, going forward, shows a deficit. I am being asked to be fiscally responsible to pay my garbage bill. Where is your fiscal responsibility? Planning next year for the increase that is happening now? That's not acceptable. Also, I would like to know, does a 2-unit dwelling pay 2 times the $285, or do they get to put out 2 times as much garbage and pay for 1? What is the government's response to me? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Ken Harris, 1521 Wells Street, Port Huron, Michigan. Basically, I'm here to talk about some of the similar things that have already been brought up. Let's look at resolution number 3 first. The $285 for the residential use for pickup and the refuge for the city going forward. We know it's only a temporary millage and it'll like double by next year, but there's a lot of things to consider. You know, I jumped the gun a little bit, and after this come on the board, I went through the next morning just to see how many businesses got picked up and stuff, and it's a fair amount. And I plan to do the same thing when this takes appropriation in July. But one thing we have to look at is the fact that I don't understand how we singled out residents in this ordinance. You know, residents aren't the only contributors to waste in the city of Port Huron. You know, I don't care whether they put out 1 bag or what, but businesses rely on city refuge, and they're excluded under this ordinance. It's wrong, and it's not correct. Second thing that I'd like to bring up is under the city manager's proposals tonight, numbers 3, 4, and 5, we're talking about $500,000 again. That's all going to the fire department. Well, I guess the question you guys need to ask is, this is in addition to the $10.6 million to build the fire station. Another thing, well, as I cruise the neighborhood, still getting out there trying to get my walk, I stopped at some people's place the other day on 1835 Howard Street. And this kind of stays in my head with the number 7. You know why it stays there? Because that's how long it took them to remove a dead tree from their boulevard. That's ridiculous. I brought it up 4 years ago to this council when I brought up about that one and the one at 1721 Howard, which is worse. But it took 7 years to get rid of that. The other, I guess the thing is I think the ordinance that you're going to read tonight and probably adopt, you better look at it quickly or more thoroughly, because it seems to have some conflicts of talking about millage and stuff, and it don't refer to the Headley Amendment, but millages are adjusted annually with the Headley Amendment to basically as a holdback for people who can't afford it or keep up with the rate of inflation. And finally, I guess what we have to look to in the Harrison neighborhood over there, in the last couple of months, myself and other neighbors in our area have had issues with our sanitary sewers. And the sanitary sewers that hasn't been in the house, one was 125 feet from the house. The problem we had was 90 feet from the house. And we were looked at the other day when the city with the sanitary guys were down on Wells Street. But they haven't been down in the alley in, I say, 4 years. And there's a main receptor in our alley. And but the problem is they can't get down the alley because we have people that park their junk out and back. So as we leave here tonight, let me just consider this, give this a chance to think about. It's kind of a joke, but actually it isn't a joke, because it really refers to city government, local government, and federal government. When people take financial advantage of those less fortunate than themselves because they can, you know, is that what the definition of that is from? Financial rate. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to address the City Council this evening?
My name is Alan Skinner, 3419 Stone Street, here in Port Huron. I'd like to preface my remarks to the fact that I recognize, and I think most of us do, that we're in desperate economic times. We are posed with problems and expenses and everything. We don't have to watch our budgets, money. I myself have to do that also. I would like also to recognize that my personal comments and observations are such that the city is an entity to provide goods and services to the residents of the city. No special rights, no special considerations for anybody. People should take care of themselves. They should work, and they want something, they should earn the money to get it provided for themselves and their family. It brings me to my comments. I have only 4. Shouldn't take too long. Just bullet points, recommendations. Stone Street. Stone Street, Lakeside Beach, Gratiot Reef renovation. Big problem. Too much traffic, too much loud traffic, too much fast traffic. I think that we ought to have some alternatives, maybe 10th Street, maybe some other even further than 10th Street. Motorcycles on North Stone Street. Gentlemen, the last council meeting I came to recognized excessive noise, acceleration, careless driving down in the downtown city area. North End Stone Street is another example. It's not good. It's not good. The area is deteriorating, and this is one of the reasons why it is. The people have equality. They don't have equity. As I said, if you want equity, go to work and earn it. These are desperate economic times. You have to look a little harder to find the money that you need to pay your bills. Nobody should be looking for special interest advantages. This will bring me to one of my comments later on. I strongly oppose the provisions to prior amendment adopted, the city commitment to an inclusive community. Again, on the same basis. You want something, work for it. No special handouts. The proposal for Pride Judgment presented Blue Water Pride for this Pride Month thing. Special interests again. It's not necessary. City should have no business adopting such resolutions, even discussing or recommending anything like this, because the city is a provider of goods and services to the community as a whole. It is not a political endorsement operation, not looking for endorsements for political special interest groups. Okay, from the city managers, for the city manager's proposal, a comment on number 6. And I had a note, but I will read it here. I am really confused as to what the heck is, well, I don't know, came out of the cemetery lot. What are 240 niche columbaria for the Allied Veterans Cemetery, $42,471.
Just to let Mr. Skinner, Mr. Skinner, your time is up. We will talk about that at the time that we discuss the items, so. Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to address the council this evening?
Hello. I'm Ben Cranky, 707 Superior Street, right over there. I'm also serving a 2-year term as a trustee on the board of the Seed and Soul Society. Just wanted to give you guys a quick update on what we have going on currently. So we have 3 locations we're currently working. The first one is our oldest collaboration, and it's with the Farm Museum of Goodles County Park. And that's in its 3rd year. We started out as a test plot. Last year they gave us an acre for corn and soybeans. This year we're doing corn, sunflowers, and I believe some squash, low maintenance crops out there, but they've given us 2.5 acres there. There's the Soul Sprouts Garden, which is co-located at the YMCA daycare. And that was a project I personally put together with Megan, the director of the Warm World, and Josh Chapman. And last year that generated, and we're talking, this is small. It's a 3 by 9 foot box, but it was built, it was planted by the kids, and it generated 300 pounds of food. And it was all like sugar snap peas, green beans, cherry tomatoes, finger food, stuff kids eat. But all those kids, I had several parents come to me and ask me, hey, can you help me build a box at my house? I'm like, absolutely. And they'll bring you plants. And that brings us to the Solstice Garden. Solstice Garden has been big this year. We put in handicap accessible pathways that combine to our 10 new raised bed gardens, which are also handicap height, allowing wheelchair access, walker access, because we had some people in the neighborhood who did come down last year, and there's not really much that they could do. So we've added raised beds and arches in between the raised beds that allow access for our older residents. And the 10 raised beds are fed by an irrigation system that we were able to build with the help of my employer and KB Garden Center. It's super advanced irrigation system. It's going to save us hundreds of hours of watering on that site, thousands of gallons of water. We are going forward with building our shed, and we want to thank you guys for the direction in applying for a variance for a site if you would like one, and the steps involved in getting those things done. And it went really well. Not everything went our way. You know, when we submitted our site plan, some things had to move, some things had to change. We found a middle ground, and it's going to work out. It's going to be great. But Seed and Soul Society, we're here for the long haul. This is us sticking our flag in the ground. We're not interested in burning bridges in a city with tons of water. You're going to need to cross them multiple times. So I guess that's all.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the council this evening?
Holden Gothier, 1423 Lapeer, Holly's Place. In regards to meeting early May, Mayor Rep, you had mentioned that it was more fair because everybody uses the garbage to charge a flat rate, but everybody uses the roads, police service, public schools, everything else. So, I mean, I would just say there's kind of a logical fallacy there because everybody also uses those amenities. And in terms of equity and equality, I'd say it's way more equitable to provide for those that more so need these breaks, because what's happening here with your flat rate is most of the break is to the people that have high property rates and can actually afford to live in the city. You're raising the rate on people that can't afford it. And that's, I know, beating a dead horse, but it's the truth. And additionally, as I talk about equity and equality, I think it's apropos to mention that, I mean, it was only in the last decade that gays, lesbians, bisexuals, transgenders really got the right to marry. So I can commend you guys on recognizing that, and I do think they earn that, and I think it's equitable that you guys do recognize that. And it's not just some handout, it's a marginalized group. And that's what I'm speaking for, is people that actually need something, that you provide that. And something that I think people need is also food. I mean, 28%, 25%, whatever you want to call it, poverty rate here, I think it's just egregious that we're making it prohibitive to people like Julian Ruckbeck here, who has made a very beautiful garden. I mean, I've been there, it smells great, looks great. I went there last weekend, there were kids playing in the sand there, pulling carrots, getting their hands dirty, and you don't see a lot of that anymore. So, I mean, I really appreciated it. It had a very good vibe, and I mean, I'll be very sad to see it go because he's put a lot of effort into it. He's worked very hard on it, and I can see how much people actually love being there. So I know maybe he's not the most eloquent of speakers sometimes, no offense, Mr. Julian, but just support him. He's trying. He's doing good for the city. So to hold him back because maybe some kind of grudge, or that perhaps he calls you out in some mean way, that he did mention to you 2 years ago, Mr. Freed, that, you know, he was going to do this. I know he's kind of coming at you about that, but it's kind of the truth. He's got receipts, you got receipts, meet in the middle. Let's just make it happen. It's good for the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the City Council this evening?
Kevin Linke, Mom's Basement. I'd also like to commend the city on recognizing Pride Month. I think that's a big step. So, you know, good job, you guys. I don't give you guys a lot of credit for too much, but this is one thing I definitely give you all credit for. I don't know if Laura's still here. I was looking for her, but it's really heartwarming to see the Blue Water Ally Center open. You know, you guys have fought a battle that the LGBT community has just fought a battle for years and years. So it's pretty nice to see them get some recognition. And actually, I have a pride tattoo on my arm, so just to let any people from the LGBT community know that you have my full support always. So, but what I really want to talk about is Officer Tristan Schaude. I'm sure the City Council is aware of the federal lawsuit that was filed last week against Officer Schaude and his vicious attack on Charles Reed. Officer Schaude is not the only officer being named in that lawsuit. There's 3 other officers being named, and I feel really sorry for those officers because Officer Schaude's cowardly act got them wrapped up in some bullshit, and it's got the city wrapped up in some nonsense. Sorry about my language, Ms. Ashford. It's time for you guys to take action against Officer Schaude. It's time to fire him. It's time to demand that Mike Wendling stops being a coward and charges him criminally, because what he did was a criminal act. He assaulted somebody. And I don't know what's going on with PHPD and the prosecutor's office. I was assaulted last week, and Chief Kerrigan, or Assistant Chief Kerrigan, was quoted in the newspapers. They're not going to seek charges against the guy who clearly hit me in a video. It's in a police report, he hit me. Tristan Schaude punched the dude in the face, and he's not being charged. we got Casanova here violating constitutional rights. We're going to SCOTUS. Ms. Ferris is aware of that. It's time for y'all to get your house in order, because there's a lot of harm befalling residents of this city because you guys won't hold people accountable. Fire Tristan Shouty. That needs to be your first step. He needs to go. This city needs to know that it's being protected by its officers, not assaulted by its officers. And it is a mockery that he's done what he's done. And I don't want to single any of you out, but none of you have spoken out against this. None of you have condemned this act. You're all pretty much condoning it with your silence. And I think that's bullshit. Assistant Chief Kerrigan is giving me a hard time about the second video. I've been trying to FOIA Officer Shouty's body cam. Officer Kerrigan, or Assistant Chief Kerrigan, whatever he wants to call himself, he's playing games with FOIA. He's charging unreasonable rates to fulfill FOIA requests. He is overly redacting police reports that he doesn't have the authority to redact. And if it's going to take a bunch more lawsuits, because FOIA denials have a mechanism available to them where you can sue, file a lawsuit, and then you're going to pay me $1,000 for every report he won't give me. So if that's the game we got to play, that's what we'll do. Ms. Ferris will tell you, her office, I'm wrapped up in a ton of litigation with the city, with the county that her office is involved in. And so if I got to start suing over this FOIA stuff, that's what I'm going to do. I brought this issue to Chief Platter. He won't do anything about it because he's afraid to call Mr. Kerrigan out. I'm not. So, I would appreciate if the city could maybe have a talk with its police force and explain to them the FOIA requirements that they have to abide by. Because before Mr. Kerrigan became the FOIA coordinator, we had no problems getting FOIAs. Now he's calling the shots and we're having a bunch of issues. But back to my original talking point, it's time to hold Mr. Officer Shouty accountable. This cannot happen anymore in this city. There cannot be officers punching people in the face. I'll tell you right now, the Detroit Free Press is about to run a story on this. I talked to them yesterday. They have the video. They're running a whole new story about what went on in the lawsuit and all that. So you guys want to keep getting this bad publicity? Keep letting people get away with nonsense. So, just do your job. You're up there for a reason. Let's do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the council this evening? Seeing no one, I will declare, go ahead. I'm fine.
Heather Fagan, Pine Street. I just want to kind of capitalize on what my board member Ben was saying. So we, last year, we grew over 3,000 pounds of food, and we are really hoping that we're going to double our yield this year. The shed's looking great. We're very excited. And so in July, I have the opportunity to go to Washington, D.C., where I will be able to address White House Congress and the USDA about food insecurity. And I get to listen to what other people are doing in their hometowns in different states and kind of collaborate and hopefully, leave there with a lot of knowledge. And I'm very excited to bring that back to the Blue Water area. And so I just wanted to thank you all again for everything that we've been able to do this year, and for just facilitating that for us. So thank you.
Thank you. If there's no one else, then I will declare public comment closed. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Are you seconding it?
No, somebody else.
No, no, okay.
I was just going to have two poor.
You want something off of there, is that it?
85 and 86.
86 or something? The scheduling of public hearings?
Yes. I know we can't, yeah, it's really brief.
Okay.
Yeah, just clarification.
We'll take the vote on the consent agenda.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Haremza?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Mojak?
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Mayor Reck?
Yes. Items on the consent agenda, received and filed notification that Andrew Kircher has been reappointed by the city manager to the Port Huron Housing Commission. with a term to expire on June 30th, 2028. Accepting 200 vacant lot Court Street right-of-way between Griswold and Chestnut Streets into the city street system. Approving the reappointment of Bill Johnson, licensed tradesman, and James Watson, master plumber, to the Construction Board of Appeals for terms to expire June 30th, 2026. And confirmed the mayor's reappointment of Dan Casey to the Local Development Finance Authority for a term to expire June 11th, 2027. So then we will go to, from the city manager, number 1, if the clerk would read, please.
Accepting the bid from Raymond Excavating Company in the amount of $387,016 for rehabilitation of the Edison Shores Sanitary Pump Station.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Support. Councilmember Pemberton, supported by Councilmember Ashford.
Madam Mayor and Council, this was installed in 1996 as part of the original development. It actually includes sanitary collection for about 31 acres in that area. This will include the full submersibles, upgrading the building. The building's in good shape. There's a door that needs to be replaced and some ancillary cost. But this is at its end of its useful lifespan and needs to be completely rehabilitated.
Does anyone have any questions on this?
I would note this was a budgeted item and anticipated.
I see your memo there.
And I was going to note too, it was a budget item.
Yes.
And then the price that we brought in, we're under budget as to what is being projected to be spent.
And if you could just do me a favor and remember the 31 acres number until the next action item so we can compare.
Now this pump station, it has 3, right? 3 existing pumps?
Correct.
All of them are being replaced?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
They each pump about 150 gallons per minute.
Right.
Also note that number as well.
Okay. Is there any other questions, comments? We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamza?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Mojak?
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. Item 2, please.
Accepting the bid from Raymond Excavating Company in the amount of $1,479,510 for rehabilitation of the Scott Poplar Street Sanitary Pump Station.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Councilmember Pemberton, supported by Councilmember Lamb.
Madam Mayor and Council, I want to put the next action item into perspective. The last lift station, pump station, serviced about 31 acres. This one services 1,413 acres. The last one we did had a pumping capacity of 450 gallons a minute. This one has a pumping capacity of 15,200 gallons a minute. For $1.4 million, you do get a personal site visit from the city manager. I toured the facility today, and it is a gigantic facility. Most of it's underground. The screw pumps, which you've probably seen in your wastewater plant tours, it's proprietary. They're unique to that. That's what's getting replaced, as well as addressing the outside of the building. This gathers all of the Fort Gratiot collection and brings it to our wastewater plant. That's why on page 2, you'll see that 72.73% of the project, just over $1 million, will be billed back to Fort Gratiot. Only about $403,000 will be billed to the city of Port Huron. We have met with Fort Gratiot earlier on to make them, put them on notice last year that this project was coming, because nobody likes to be blindsided with $1 million bill. But again, we have to completely rehabilitate this facility, the screw pumps that are proprietary. One thing as well, there are some ancillary costs to paint and roof the outside and make it look nice. It's in the middle of a residential neighborhood, so if you actually drive by, it looks like a nice little garden shed or something that fits in the neighborhood. That was an intentional design, so we want to make sure we rehabilitate that as well.
Does anyone have any further questions on this?
And we pay, we're less because they get more pumped into.
Correct. It's based on the proportion we have with our wastewater contract ownership.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Capacity.
One quick question, Megan.
Yes,
What's the timing of the project?
I can have Witter come up and answer that.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. That's probably going to be next 8 or 10 months by the time equipment's procured. It's one of these things nowadays, anytime construction project, by the time we do the notice to proceed and they get an equipment order and that sort of thing, a lot of this is specialized stuff, so I would hope from within a year from now, they would be close to complete, if not completed, or any delays.
So you said 8 to 10 months for the equipment, and then maybe 2 to 3 months to complete once they get the equipment, you think?
Yeah, and there's so yeah, this being as large a station, as the city manager explained, bypass pumping's a big part of that. So they're going to try to minimize bypass pumping because bypass pumping is very expensive, and in this case, with the amount of flow, difficult to deal with. So I imagine they're going to stage in the sort that they have all the equipment necessary acquired so that they can, once they start the construction, they can minimize the bypass pumping, which is everyone's best favor. So. But we are seeing delays in control systems and everything else in other stations, so it's been a challenge.
It's a big ticket item, but it will make us more efficient in the long run?
It's basically the style of this station, like city man, you haven't been there yet, Councilmember Remza, but wastewater treatment plant and secondary is these large screw pumps, and they're very efficient in moving wastewater two different various parts of the process. In this case, just raising it up out of the ground. Unlike like the previous pump station, they have submersible pumps, those clog all the time. This station, besides routine maintenance and a few little things that have occurred, has been pretty much no issues of clogging or anything else, just because of the style of the pump. So we did not change the style or the capacity based on the agreement.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other questions for Mr.
Just a
Witter?
piggyback, so we're still able to maintain and keep up pace until this does happen, so it's not like an emergency.
No, this is a pre-planned activity, a
Right.
budgeted item, so it's just one of those things. We've been trying to do a pump station or 2 every year. COVID kind of slowed that down, but it is a planned rehab of the station.
Right, yeah, and I was over at the pump station. Yeah, you got to visit that, Councilmember Conrad, yeah.
It's a great place to take the family.
It sure, no, and I understand, because what you did, redesign it, what is 100% is just like a whole flip job to make it more operational.
Yeah.
So, okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Mayor.
Anybody else have anything? Thank you.
You're welcome.
We will take the vote.
Councilmember Hamza,
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb,
Yes.
Councilmember Mosrak,
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton,
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald,
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford,
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. Item 3.
Accepting the single source quote from Digicom Global Inc. in the amount of $137,259.35 for the purchase and installation of an emergency alerting system at Fire Station Number 1.
Is there a motion?
So moved. Support.
Councilmember Mosrak, supported by Councilmember Ashford.
Madam Mayor and Council, the $137,259.35 cost here was a part of your approved master approval last year. If you look at the approval last year in the bid documents, you can go online, download them for anyone who wants to educate themselves on it. There's some soft costs, things that are you just don't know until the end. We pick them out as we go on, like the carpet color and the paint color. This notification system is the exact same notification system we installed in Station 3. We want to keep the same notification system because they interface well with Central Dispatch, and it also is a proprietary system that we are now using already, so it wouldn't make sense to have different notification systems at different stations. So that is the reason for the single source, but this is part of your approved cost. This is not in addition to the cost.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
I would note this is the part of the system you saw where there's lights at night, where there's like a red light, and it's a pretty comprehensive system so people know it's not just like a bell and whistle like they used to have in the old day.
Mayor.
Yes, Councilmember Ashford.
Yeah, I just might note, this is not like an option or anything. It's somewhat mandated as far as my OSHA. So not exactly mandated, but it's required.
It's required that we are able to notify the firefighters when they're asleep. They can wake up, they have transitional lighting to get their gear on and get out the door.
It's a safety.
It is, 100%.
Right.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you. We will take the vote.
Councilmember Lamb,
Yes.
Councilmember Mosrak,
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton,
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald,
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford,
Yes.
Councilmember Hamza,
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. Item 4.
Accepting the single source quote from Nedman LLC in the amount of $112,673 for the purchase and installation of a diesel exhaust removal system at Fire Station Number 1.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Support. Councilmember Lamb, Mayor Pro Tem Archibald.
Madam Mayor and Council, the reason for the single source purchase is when the fire truck goes into the fire station, they actually connect a hose to the exhaust system as required under MIOSHA to exhaust the diesel fumes out and the run cost out. The connection to the trucks, to the air handling system are proprietary to Niederman's system. So whether you take a truck from Station 4 to Central Station or to Station 3, they can connect to the exhaust system. So it would not make sense to have one station that didn't have the same system as the other stations. The reason for that is it gives the battalion chiefs and duty command the ability to allocate resources on a need basis. So if we have to move trucks or pre-position assets and resources, the chiefs have the ability to do that. So we want all the trucks to be interconnected in the same manner, in the same system as every other station. So that's the reason for the single source.
Okay.
Yeah, well, that makes sense, the standardization,
Correct.
you know, okay. Thank you.
Anything else from anyone?
I would just add, I encourage people to drive by the station on 10th Street going up. It is pretty remarkable. When we built it in a way that it looks nice for the neighborhood. So the aesthetics, the brick, the block that's going up. In July, steel trusses will arrive on site and begin going up. So it is just pretty remarkable. I hope when it's done, people realize just what a nice asset it is to the neighborhood. And I will say Chief Nicholson is here. Chief is a profound fire expert and a leader in his field when it comes to fire safety, which he had a real learning curve on building a $10 million fire station, but he has done a tremendous job when it comes to the bid docs, the contracts, the site development. Every time he has something major on his plate with that building, I go, I'm just really glad I'm not the fire chief today. So he is shouldering a tremendous amount, running one of the largest fire operations and fire safety operations in the region, while at the same time building a $10 million station, which was not in the job description, and he has done just a tremendous job, and so I thank him for that.
Mayor Rath? Yes, Mayor Pro Tem Archibald.
James, this is not in the original 10 million?
It is.
This wasn't?
Yep, it is.
You clarified that on the first one. I just wanted to make sure this was.
It's in the soft costs.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor,
Yes.
just piggybacking on what James said, I just wanted to thank Chief Nicholson also. Several questions that I've had reached out, they were answered promptly and made understanding of what's going on there. So great job with everything that's going on. Appreciate it.
We will take the vote.
Councilmember Mojrak?
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Haremza?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Mayor Ruff?
Yes. Item 5.
Accepting the single source quote from Motorola Solutions, Inc. in the amount of $194,777.90 for the purchase of 21 portable radios and 14 mobile radios for use by the fire department.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Councilmember Pemberton, supported by Councilmember Mojrak.
Madam Mayor and Council, one of my greatest regrets in life is not becoming a Motorola radio salesman. They have a lock on this industry. This is what the entire county uses is Motorola. It interfaces with Central Dispatch and with other agencies. It's also what we have in our environment here. And so we really have to go with Motorola. They're kind of the only game in town. This based on encryption. We're going to be required to do encryption in the next couple of years. So as we replace radios, we have some radios that could fail. They're getting at that point of life where they could become untrustworthy and failing. And what you don't want is have the fire department with firefighters inside a burning building and radios that may not work. The reason why we're bringing this to you now is by the time we put this order in and actually get these radios, it's probably going to be between somewhere between 14 and 20 months. And that's on a good horizon. Then we have to flash them and get them programmed in. I have asked for this purchase to come out of the land purchase fund. We will adjust our budget amendment accordingly to account for this. The land purchase fund currently has $680,000 of cash on hand. It will drop it to $486,000. So we do have the funding to do this, but this is one of the things that we have to do. With that said, anticipate that I will bring you a proposal in the next couple months for the in-car radios for the police department for the same reason. And the police department kind of got a head start with the radios that the officers carry. So we'll do a 2 to 3 year deployment to replace those incrementally over the next 2 to 3 years.
Okay. Any questions? We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Pemberton,
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald,
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford,
Yes.
Councilmember Haramza,
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb,
Yes.
Councilmember Mosrak,
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. Item 6, please.
Accepting the quote from Cold Spring Granite Company in the amount of $42,471 for the purchase of 2 40-niche columbaria for Allied Veterans Cemetery.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Support?
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald, supported by Councilmember Pemberton. Can you?
Yep, Madam Mayor and Council, the reason why we have a single source provider is because if you were to bid this out, everyone would source them as the product. They're the ones who make it. They're the ones who we've been buying them from. Our columbariums are pretty much sold out now, and as we buy them, they fast them, and this is for our veterans cemetery, and I think it's important that we have a place ready and available for our veterans when they're finally laid to rest. And so this is important that we make sure that this is available to our veterans in their time of need and their families in time of need, and we're running out.
So it's for 2 40-niche, so there's 80 spots, then is what it is.
Correct. And also note, we don't make a lot of money on them, but
No.
we break even, so this cost is covered over time.
Right. Yeah.
And
Yes.
where are they going? Are they going to?
Yep.
In the veterans itself?
yes.
Because I know we had some over by the,
This will go in the veterans.
this is over in veterans.
Yep.
Yeah, they're in 2 different places up there.
Yeah.
Any questions?
Mayor Rapp?
Yes,
Just
Mayor
ask that James explain what a columbaria is for those who don't understand. I know there are some people who don't know what they are.
Yep, a columbarium is a granite structure. It's above ground. If you drive by the Veterans Cemetery, they have little boxes. In each little box is the remains of a veteran with a nameplate on the front. It's lit up beautifully at night, so people can visit and read the names of our hometown heroes who serve their country with dedication and honor.
Can they put their wives?
Yes, I can.
Yes. I knew, I just wanted to ask. Yeah, they can put their wives in there.
Is there anything else? We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Archibald,
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford,
Yes.
Councilmember Haramza,
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb,
Yes.
Councilmember Mosrak,
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton,
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes, we'll move on to resolutions. Number 1, please.
Authorizing 27 payments.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald, supported by Councilmember Ashford. Does anyone have any questions on any of the payments?
No, I just noted that, Mayor Rep, of course, I just noticed we had a few change orders here, but they didn't look like really outstanding, and the explanations were clear and, and understandable, so I'm good with this, with our bills.
One of the things I would note is on attachment H1B, the colored concrete, the skate park. That was based on safety experts who said that the differential colored concrete for depth perception was a safety issue. So I really didn't have a choice on that one.
Yeah, I know you answered that question before for me, so, yeah, but thanks for repeating it.
If there's nothing else on the payments, we will take the vote.
Councilmember Ashford,
Yes.
Councilmember Haramza,
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb,
Yes.
Councilmember Mosrak,
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton,
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald,
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes, item 2, please.
Approving the agreement with Hermosa International, Inc. for professional engineering services for high voltage switchgear replacement and control panel upgrades at the water treatment plant.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Councilmember Mosrak, supported by Councilmember Lamb.
Madam Mayor and Council, this is one of the things that are original to the plant. This project will be done in 2 phases. Part 1 will be a total of $142,071 for engineering costs. Part 2 will be $539,000. Excuse me, $119,539. There we go. For the design and implementation of this switchgear replacement. This is one of the we did this similarly to the wastewater plant a couple of years ago, and so it's time to do it to the water filtration plant. And this was a budgeted item.
Okay.
Yeah, it was budget. Yeah.
Yes.
It didn't have to be bidded or anything. It's just already.
So we do what's called a pool for requests for qualifications. So when it comes to professional services like engineering or legal or something that's actually a professional service, we don't do a specific bid. We do a request for qualification a team and a committee meet and evaluate, score all the people who set in their qualifications to find who is the most qualified person to do this project, and then we negotiate a contract based on qualifications and hourly cost.
Because of the specificity of what we have
Correct.
to do.
When it
Okay.
comes with engineering services, sometimes the low bid isn't the best bid. Yeah.
Point taken. Thank you, Mira.
We will take the vote.
Councilmember Hamza,
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb,
Yes.
Councilmember Mosrak,
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton,
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald,
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford,
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. Item 3.
Approving the discontinuation of the current levy of 3 mills for solid waste removal services and setting the annual billing rate for solid waste and recycling services at $285 for each residential parcel of real property within the limits of the city of Port Huron.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Councilmember Pemberton, supported by Councilmember Mosrak.
Madam Mayor and Council, I gave an in-depth presentation about this at the last meeting. The $285 is our cost stratified over the residential parcel count within the city. The reason why we are applying to the tax bill is because that is where the tax relief is being seen. So it would be fair, so for those who had the tax relief, that's where the new fee goes in its place, and that's the fairest way to do it.
And I might note that it doesn't say it in that part, but it does in the resolution that it will be done 2 different times, 142.50 each time, once in the summer taxes, once in the winter taxes.
Correct.
So they're not all at once.
And the reason for that was to provide more people the time to stratify those costs over 6 months, each payment.
And we are continuing to look at it.
Yeah, I have a whole task force we have assembled to begin looking at possible alternative options. As I said before, this is not a good situation to be in where you have a single bidder because of the labor shortage, because of cost shortages. We have environmental laws which have caused tip fees to rise. It's a perfect storm. Our costs went up about 40% across the country. They're somewhere between 39, I've seen as high as 61%. So this is a national issue that's emerging. And so we will continue to look at, maybe we get back in the trash service. Maybe we start buying trash trucks and we get back in the business ourselves. I think that's something to look at. The dynamics of the environment in which we operate have changed from when that decision was made, but I'm not sure. There's a lot of questions that I need to consult subject matter experts with who would know whether or not that is the appropriate course of action. So we know that we have to do something. We need to find out what the best option is, and this is going to take some due diligence. But for the residents to know that we haven't just done this and called it good, we are continuing to actively look for alternatives of what we can do.
And also, Mira.
Yes.
During the public audience, they asked for, like you have a dwelling with
Yep.
lots of people in it. Is that for each?
So what we did is we went by the parcel because that's where the tax relief is coming. The vast majority of those who are lower income or live in poverty are renters. And so if we provide tax relief to the deed holder and yet stick the tenant with the bill, it would kind of be, you're kind of giving tax relief to the person and then sticking the bill with someone else. And so that's the reason why we did it to the parcel. We felt that was the most fair way because that's where the tax relief was being seen. But that is something we can address in future years.
Oh, okay. So I just want to make that plain, so it's the parcel.
Yeah.
It's not the.
There's no perfect solution. Like, I want to be very clear, like, there's an argument for everything. And we went through the whole modeling, which would be more fair, who would get hit the hardest. And I think you said it last time, say it. We know this is hard. People are like, I know. This is the hard decision to make because we know this is going to hurt some people. We know this is hard. But it puts us on par with what every other municipality in the region does. And so for those out there who are seeing an increase and it's hard, we recognize that. I stayed up many nights thinking about that. How can we alleviate that? How can we do things differently? How can we do it better? And we're going to continue to look at those. We were pigeonholed into this situation. So I don't want to candy coat this and say this isn't hard and this isn't something we should just take lightly. It is. And for all the arguments folks made, I don't have one person who came up and said something I didn't disagree with, that it is hard. And this is, this will be a burden. We know that. And so I do want to speak to that. I do want to voice that, say it, and put it out there that I recognize that. And that is sometimes the burden of leadership and sometimes why it's really difficult to sit in this chair.
Yeah, and to that point, I think that one thing we keep saying, we want to be fair and fair. we use that word, we just throw it around. I think we just have to do what just is the right thing to do with what we have right in front of us. Because when you tell people you want to be fair for you is not fair for me.
Correct.
And that's what they're trying to tell us.
Correct.
So when we do communicate this, like you're saying, it's a continuum. We're not stopping right here, but what we do have to work with to get us over that, to maintain, still pick up garbage. This is where we have to be at this moment in time.
Yes.
So we can just ditch the fair and say we're just doing the right thing for the right moment that we're doing, and we're going to continue to do the best we can to get it at a palatable state that we all can live with.
Any other comments?
Mayor,
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem Archibald.
a couple of quick questions, and they do come from public audience and a couple other things, but if we move forward with this tonight, what would it take to change this to see it be done by a per unit rather than a per parcel? I mean, is it something, are we locked in for a certain time frame? Can we come back and visit this to say?
We could come back and visit it probably before the winter tax bill.
Okay, so we're not locked in for a long period of time. We can
Correct.
readjust this,
Yep.
knowing we have to do something now, but we have the ability to change this to a per unit.
Correct.
If the majority of council wanted to do that.
Correct.
I personally would prefer to see it as a per unit. I know that's not a popular thing to say to the landlords, but I think a per unit, we're talking about fair, is more equitable than a per parcel. And then the second one, I think, I'm not sure who brought it up, but just clarifying that businesses, their parcels were not a part of this because they're not a part of our pickup.
No, correct.
So they pay for their own already. They're not getting trash pickup by not having to pay for it. So I just want to make sure that the public understands they didn't get a freebie. They pay for their own already.
There was about 100 to 160 parcels within our commercial corridor who used to get trash pickup, and they've been served notice that as of July 1st, their trash pickup is ceasing, and they'll need to contract out privately.
And could you add the stipulations to how the businesses get theirs? I know they could call.
Yeah, we sent them all a letter, and they can call us with a contact. In the commercial area, so we sent them all a letter. I met with the business community last Thursday to go over with them and explain what was going on for those parcels who were going to be a difference.
Okay.
But the vast majority of downtown businesses already have dumpsters and some type of commercial service.
Anything?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Just another question that came up regarding the leaf pickup and the mulch. Or is that an option at some point to look into?
So it is an option where we could end bulk pickup, leaf pickup, and brush pickup. But the amount of tonnage of leaves we pick up are so staggering that without burning them, my own personal yard, I'd have 200 bags. We are designated by the Department of Interior in certain sections of the city as an urban forest. And so we literally have tons and tons and tons. The other issue becomes is we have a stormwater discharge permit with Eagle and under the Clean Water Act. We would have to clean our storm sewers out. It would just be an absolute mess. And for the residents we spoke with, if given the option of saving $30 a year, get rid of bulk brush and leaf pickup, the vast majority seem to think that it was worth it. However, as we move forward, we can continue to talk to the constituents, and if they feel differently, that's something we can address.
And what portion of that is it? How much is that of the contract? Roughly?
So they won't peg the number. So the mayor asked this question a couple weeks ago, and I worked hard with Mterra. They essentially said you have to rebid the contract to get that number. I think it's because it's really hard to differentiate because you're buying equipment and hiring staff and throttling up to accomplish the task. Where if pulling it out, what does that look like operationally? It changes everything. So you would have to rebid the contract, and if we rebid the contract and eliminate that, we run the risk of even having higher rates than we already have. So it's a roll of the dice, and I'm not quite sure I'm
Okay. And just to echo some of the other comments, and actually maybe just a statement, kind of looking at what the shortfall was and what the increase, it looks like it's about a 65.2% increase, right? Cost of business. So I guess, if someone's rate's going up 65.2 plus the recycle, that's their number. Now, it doesn't help someone that's going up 200%, but I do say, this $285, I think we should be looking at all options now to bring that down, and long-term to really look to see if it is feasible and cost for the city to take it back, which we've all mentioned, and hopefully get that $285 down even more.
The 65%, just to note, is the last year of the contract. So you have 5 years of compounding increases to get to that number. In the onset, it's about 40%. If you compound the 5 years out, the growth on annual going up is somewhat acceptable. It's the initial jump from year over year contract that's the staggering number.
And this makes us whole. Okay.
And that $25 fee is off of there now, too.
Correct.
As well, for recycling. That's taken off, as well as the 3 mills.
Mayor,
Yes, Councilman.
James, I'd be interested at some point, if you can get numbers, again, as Mayor Pro Tem said, not very favorable for the landlords, but if we did do it per unit instead of parcel, obviously that's going to bring everybody's number down because you have some 4 or 5 unit parcels that we'd be charging for. So I wonder if there's any way to run numbers, or with David's help, that we could just kind of figure out where our numbers would be and what it would bring it down from that 2.
We have those numbers, and I will send those out to council in the next day or so. The issue is the relief of the 3 millage reduction is seen by the property owner, and then unsuspecting tenants get hit with a new monthly bill. And if you look at tenants and renters, there's a vast majority who fall below the poverty line. And so the way we rolled this out, I tried my best to do a way that I knew it was going to be hurtful to those most vulnerable, and how could I lessen the impact. And although not perfect, that was my attempt to do that. And I recognize it's not perfect.
Thank you.
Anything else? We will take the vote.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Mojrak?
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Ramza?
Yes.
Mayor Rapp?
Yes. Item 4.
Approving the Uniform Video Service local franchise agreement with DirecTV LLC and setting the franchise fee at 5% of gross revenue.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald, supported by Councilmember Pemberton.
Madam Mayor and Council, we are required in a state statute to put this before you, but if you vote it down, it still goes into effect.
So it's like no choice.
This is what happens when you pay your lobbyist well.
Yeah, it's just following the motions, huh?
Following state statute.
Yeah.
Do you know how much we get out of that?
You know, you would ask me that.
I'm sorry.
It's in the budget, and I can get it out to you, but I don't have to.
Yeah, okay, I'm just curious.
Well, it didn't go
I mean, it's
up
not-
or back. It's about the same.
Well, candidly, what's happening is these franchise fees are based on the old model where people run lines throughout your communities of AT&T, Comcast, and DirecTV. But now we have Hulu, YouTube TV, and over time, we will become less and less dependent on this revenue because it's going to go away.
Nobody is going to get it. Okay, we will take the vote.
Councilmember Mojrak?
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Ramza?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Mayor Rapp?
Yes, I think we can read 6 and 7 together. They're both scheduling public hearings for the same date, and they're on the same item, just different locations.
So just read them.
Read them
One
as
after
one. Yeah, one right after the other. Okay.
Scheduling a public hearing for June 26, 2023 to hear comments from all persons interested in the maintenance cost of Huron Avenue Streetscape project from the north side of the Black River to the south side of McMorran Boulevard, and approving the various resolutions for the declaration and preparation of a special assessment rule and other matters associated with the special assessment district. Scheduling a public hearing for June 26, 2023 to hear comments from all persons interested in the maintenance cost of the Military Streetscape project from the south side of the Black River to the north side of Court Street, and approving the various resolutions for the declaration of and preparation of a special assessment role and other matters associated with the special assessment district.
Is there a motion?
So move.
Councilmember Ashford, is there a second?
Second.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald, and I assume you had a question?
Yeah, it's just great. Thank you for seconding that, Mayor Pro Tem. During public audience, we heard, a lot about things, whether it's the parking, the noise, or whatever. And these two resolutions of public hearing it's a Huron Avenue, and that's one of the areas that we're going to do some stuff in. I was just wondering if we could somehow put some of their concerns in this.
No, we cannot. This is for the maintenance.
I know it's for the maintenance.
Couldn't it be stretched in such a way that?
No, that would be done through an ordinance itself regulating bikes and e-bikes downtown.
Yeah.
So if the council wanted to bring that up, they would have to do it separately. This is specifically regarding our ability to assess for the maintenance of the streetscape and snow removal.
Oh, okay.
Anything when it comes to governance, meaning you want to regulate parking, you want to regulate bikes downtown, that would need to be done through ordinance.
Well, yeah, I know that ordinance or some kind of resolution. No, ordinance.
It would have to be
They have
ordinance.
to do that ordinance, not a resolution. No, I was just thinking that since they were doing this, that they could somehow come together and make those kind of subject matters and issues and concerns.
It is something that I have met with the Downtown Business Collective, so as Natasha Hayden, we continually meet with business owners on what they want to do. There is great discussions about bikes downtown and e-bikes downtown. There are some who believe that by limiting them, you take away their customer base because they are becoming popular with a lot of people. And so there are some business owners who are really glad to see bikes and e-bikes downtown. There are a few who do not want to see e-bikes downtown. And so I think it's a broader discussion that has to be had that is this something that the business community wants? Is this a safety concern? Is it a perceived safety concern versus what the analytics say? And so I think that's a conversation we should continue to have with them.
Okay. Yeah, I think you should too, and I can understand where we fit in here, but still it needs to be brought up. And I think, there's a lot of signs and everything out there in the middle of the street. These are e-bikes. You got to go around and people trying to walk. And so I think it does kind of rest with the DDA, Natasha's.
We will bring recommendations to the council, but at the end of the day, it's the council who would have to pass the ordinance.
Right. Oh, okay. Thank you. Thanks.
Just to pick it, I know it's not about this one, but since you brought it up, didn't we talk at one point about restricting where the e-bikes had to stay on the outside to the street side, and so they couldn't be in front of the doors?
We had conversations about that. We put up signs. The issue is it's a lot more complex than just saying e-bikes. There's different grades and levels of e-bikes.
Yeah.
What is considered an e-bike, whether it's an e-assist bike, and it's actually, there's some state statute evolving on it, but it's a lot more complex than just banning e-bikes. Well, what does that mean? What defines an e-bike? And so those definitions, the terminology, it's a little bit more complex, but I do anticipate bringing a recommendation to you next year or so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But I want to reiterate, this is a divisive issue with businesses downtown. There are many who really want to have people who bike and bring their e-bikes downtown because I think that's the future mode of travel. So if e-bikes are growing and more tourists and residents are using e-bikes, to ban them would make it a little bit more difficult. So I think it's something we have to walk slowly into.
Is there a certain speed limit? Meaning they go so fast. I don't know if the different. I don't know enough about them to know. Is there a certain?
Well, I know that the police department has 2 or 4 e-bikes that the cadet use, and Chief Platzer and I got on the e-bike, and we went 28 miles an hour.
Well, you shouldn't be doing that on a sidewalk.
No, we were on the road.
No, I know.
We were on the road. 28 miles an hour is wildly fast and remarkably dangerous to the police. I told Chief, I was like, you and I should go park these things because they are dangerous at that speed. And so I think there is some type of conversation we had about what level of e-bike is acceptable on the sidewalk. And I'm still learning about this issue. So are we, and so are the other cities who are addressing this. So it's not just the Port Huron issues. Municipalities all across the state are trying to address the e-bike issue.
Yeah.
So.
No, I know it is an issue, but I just wanted to see if there was any kind of restriction.
In fact, if you go to our bike trails we built at Sanborn Park, there's actually regulation there on what grade of e-bike can be on that trail.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Some communities, they do have an ordinance where they have banned them from their downtown. But what they did in lieu of that, they built, the young man that came before us, they put a lane in the street.
Yes.
So that's the countermeasure that you would use. Yeah, you took it off the sidewalk.
We are unable to add a bike lane in the downtown because we must maintain 2 lanes of traffic per MDOT because of stacking issues with the bridge.
You'd have to take the parking out if you did that.
You have to take out the downtown parking to do that. We did look into it. 3 studies were commissioned. Back before I got here, the idea was to bring downtown to, and I fully supported it, to bring 2 lanes of traffic, which I fully supported as well. The issue becomes when the Black River Bridge goes up, the Military Street Bridge goes up, you already stack now to Huron. If you were to double stack that, you would be on Glenwood, and they would have issues with numerous cycles to get the traffic cleared out, and then you would have the bridge back up again. What people should note is that per Coast Guard regulations, the Military Street Bridge marine traffic takes priority.
Yeah.
So the boats take priority over cars. And so we couldn't just say, well, we just won't raise the bridge as much. The Coast Guard says, no, you will raise that bridge. So there's a lot of, it's not as easy as people think.
Yeah.
Okay, well, back to scheduling the public hearings. We'll take the vote on that.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah. Call for the vote. I already did.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Haremza?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Mosrek?
Yes.
Mayor Rapp?
Yes, and then we just have the ordinance, the one ordinance, if you could read that.
Yep. Second reading and enactment, an ordinance to amend Chapter 38, Solid Waste and Recycling, Article 1 in general of the Port Huron Code of Ordinances for the purpose of specifying the rates and manner of billing for solid waste and recycling services.
Is there a motion?
So moved. Support.
Councilmember Pemberton, supported by Councilmember Ashford. We have gone over this, so is there any other conversation? We will take the vote.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford? Yes. Councilmember Haremza?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Mosrek?
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton? Mayor Rapp?
Yes, that concludes our agenda for this evening. We really don't have any announcements, but I would like to just remind people that we have a lot of good activities going on at McMorran Plaza, lots of music on the weekends, and a lot of people have been down there. And then you've got exercise classes for those who want to do that during the day on the plaza, so it's certainly the time to enjoy doing that and getting out in our community and walking and biking and doing all those things. We get a couple lots that we get to do outside. So is there anything else from council? If there isn't, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So, Madam Chair.